Arsenal's trying to win a Premier League title. They just came off a horrible loss to Man City. Yeah, they're manipulating the system. They sure as hell are.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the VAR You Serious podcast, episode number 26. And today, we are very disappointed because the U.S. men's national team got absolutely smoked by Belgium in Atlanta this past weekend. Dad, I'd say a disappointing weekend all around for our football endeavors.
Well, yeah, the national team, that's giving me nightmares, to be quite honest with you. And it's easy to say it's only one game. And Pochettino was still experimenting, putting Matt Turner in goal, amongst other things. But yeah, that ruined my day after such a fun day going to the first ever home game for our Denver Summit.
Yeah, which was amazing. An amazing time, such a great production from that team. Unfortunately, not the same on the field. 0-0 draw, pretty boring match, unfortunately, but 63,000 people in the crowd, crushing the former NWSL record by 23,000, Dad. So Denver's a soccer city. What can we say, guys?
Hey, go check out our short, our reel, whatever that we put up about that yesterday. Some fun clips to take a look at the experience we had. It was great out there.
Yeah, and look out for more content, local content on the team. We'll definitely be covering them as we go forward through the season. But Dad, let's jump back to the U.S. men's national team here. I mean, a really good first half. I believe we went in 1-1 with Belgium at the end of the first half. We didn't watch the game, but I watched the highlights. The team looked good. We looked fluid. McKennie stays in his hot form, gets a goal. Then we kind of have a defensive collapse for their goal, which I think we were all expecting with the center back pairing. But then it took it to a whole new level in that second half. And Tim Ream and Mark McKenzie got absolutely exposed from a very potent Belgian attack. And I think this just goes to show, Dad, we have a lot to worry about this summer.
Plenty to worry about, and I know I've said it more than one time on this podcast. This team cannot have Tim Ream play meaningful minutes, period. Full stop.
Yeah. And I think the unfortunate thing here was no Chris Richards today, but that showed. Chris Richards clearly has been bailing out Tim Ream quite a bit.
Yes.
Just with his physicality and his pace has been able to make up for Tim Ream's lack of that. But these good teams are going to expose the U.S. every single time with Tim Ream. He's not Premier League level like he was 2-3 years ago anymore. Now, he's an MLS defender that's near 40 years old.
Yeah. Pochettino, if you're listening, you need to make a decision. There has to be somebody better than him. I know there's someone better than him. Stop playing him.
Well, I hope that's the case, Dad. Miles Robinson was out too, and you'd think he might be the option just purely because of his size, similar physicality to Chris Richards, is comfortable enough on the ball, but it's not exciting. I mean, it's not an exciting center back pairing. We're talking a mid-level Premier League center back paired with a good MLS center back for the U.S. going into the biggest tournament we've ever had.
Yeah, anybody but Ream. I'm just going to keep it there. And Robinson, I think, is a fantastic choice. I realize he's not a great choice. I understand that. But Ream, to me, he's worried me for years now. And after yesterday, I can't imagine Pochettino's like, yeah, everything's fine. Yeah, we're just going to keep going along. It's just one match. No, it's not just one match, dude. It's not just one match. Get him out.
Well, and I mean, we're going up now against an arguably much better Portugal team on Wednesday, and he better not be in the starting lineup. I mean, throw anyone else, give anyone else a chance. I mean, let's see Joe Scally at center back. Let's see Tanner Tessman try and play center back. Give someone else a shot here if we're really, mixing things up and testing different ideas out still, because clearly Tim Ream is not the answer. I will say for Mark McKenzie, not a good showing from him yesterday, but do I think he can look better with Chris Richards next to him? Probably. He does have a little bit more about him. He plays in League, he's used to the pace. Yesterday, though, with Tim Ream, he got completely exposed as well, which is unfortunate to see because he's one of our options.
Well, I mean, Chris Richards could make me look like a decent center back, and that's like the truth. I mean, I'd still be terrible, but he would make me look better. And I think that who's the kid from Vancouver, defensive man of the year, that he actually got a shot at one of the camps?
Not Zimmerman. Maybe it is Zimmerman. It's
No,
not Walker Zimmerman. Well, I forgot his name. Tristan Blackman. Tristan
Blackman.
Blackman.
Like, dude, like I've got to imagine he is a better choice than Tim Ream. Ream has experience. I give him that. But I think the physical tools are disappearing by the month for Ream. Like, there just has to be a better answer. And we better figure it out. We got one more game in this window, two more games leading up to the World Cup. I feel like at this point, the script is written. I don't
Yeah.
see Pochettino changing much. Honestly, dude, I don't even know why he played Matt Turner. I didn't pay enough attention to his post-match news conference to see what he had to say about that. But like, I don't understand that. You went with Matt Freeze for I think it was 13 or 14 straight matches. Like, what are you doing? Like, I don't understand this. I sure as hell hope come World Cup, Pochettino's like, see, I told you so, and all the things work out. But I do not have much confidence.
Well, just we're missing a lot of things, Dad, to your point. I think the goal, we looked shaky with Matt Turner in goal. Tim Weah clearly is not a right back. I mean, like, at least put Alex Freeman back in because he can somewhat defend. Like, Weah is not a defender. Weah, if anything, could play a wing back. But our midfield lacks steel. You know, I like Cardoso and Tessman, but they got overrun, you know, by an older De Bruyne and an older Belgian midfield, which is embarrassing to say the least. I mean, good
Yep.
players, but we have the youthful energy. And then our guys up front that have the experience did not show up. Pulisic did not show up. McKennie did on the score sheet, but when the leadership was needed, no one was there. That's where we're missing Tyler Adams the most because he also protects those center backs, right, Dad?
He does. I don't know what to say, dude. Like, I'm gonna watch the game against Portugal. Perhaps we turn it around and have a solid game. Even like a 1-0 loss or a 2-1 loss against a good Portugal side where we play well and we show well will give me some of my confidence back. I'm not expecting it.
I think I saw a really great take, I guess, today from Tactical Manager. He's a big USMNT, you know, I guess journalist essentially. And he said, he's like, the most realistic expectation for the US here, they figure it out by the World Cup, get out of the group, but lose to the first decent team they play against, which
Yeah.
is kind of the truth right now. The
Yep.
US is just not going to beat a Belgium, a Portugal, a Netherlands, any of these teams in a knockout game. Like the tenacity is not there, the form's not there, the cohesiveness is not there. So to your point, Dad, all we're looking for right now is a little bit of structure to at least get us into the World Cup and get us going in the right direction.
I mean, the fact that we're having to have this conversation this close to the World Cup says everything. I just checked. Portugal and Mexico drew 0-0 yesterday. I don't think that Mexico team is particularly great. I don't know who Portugal had on the field, so I would like to think the U.S. can at least get a result. I believe it's Tuesday against Portugal, but
Yeah.
honestly, I don't even know if it matters at this point because the so-called starting 11 is still not playing together. And I understand there's injuries and all these other things, but like, I think we're toast, dude. I don't see us winning a knockout round game. I do not see us winning a knockout round
Well,
game.
when you're missing the spine of your team, it doesn't matter. We had our full attack, essentially. But when you're missing, you know, your probably two starting center backs and you're starting six, you have no base to work from. No Tyler Adams, no Miles Robinson, no Chris Richards. We are screwed if that's the case because
Yeah.
that's the base of where everything starts in Pochettino's system. We need those guys to be available. So let's hope they are, maybe for the next friendlies that come around in a month or so, I guess.
No, I think the last ones are,
Right before the World Cup. Sorry,
yeah,
like 2 or
like
3
the
months from
last
now.
2 weeks. Yeah, this is it, dude. After Portugal Tuesday, that's it. That's it.
But then hopefully we have the full team for those warm-up games. Like, you'd hope we can actually put the full team out for those. We'll see. But Dad, to your point, it's been a crazy slate of international games, and we have the final World Cup spots up for grabs this week. We have 6
Yes.
playoff games, Dad, and there is a lot of them to talk about here. We're not going to talk about everyone, but why don't you lead us off on one you're interested in?
Well, Italy. I mean, Italy versus Bosnia. I can't believe that Italy are this close to not making their third straight World Cup. And I know that's not news to anybody who listens or watches soccer, but I still can't get over it. I mean, I guess I'd rather be in the US's position right now where I feel like the whole world is kind of crumbling down, but at least we're going to be in the World Cup and maybe we get our act together and maybe we win a knockout round game, although I doubt it. I mean, Italy, if they don't beat Bosnia, they're out. And to me, the question you ask here is, would that be catastrophic? Yeah, that would be like a freaking 8.5 earthquake on the Richter scale. Like, when I think of Italy, I think of an amazing soccer country. And
Yeah.
they're on the verge of becoming sort of a nobody. I can't believe it. I would never have thought in my lifetime I would see this happening.
Well, I don't think anyone was predicting Italy to struggle this much with that much talent as well. I mean, it's just like, what is going wrong? I mean, you could argue they have one of the best goalies in the world in Donnarumma. Excuse me, one of the best goalies in the world in Donnarumma. Bastoni at center back, one of the best center backs in the world right now. I mean,
Yep.
there's talent all over the pitch and they can't get it done. And Dad, the writing seems like it's on the wall again. I mean, they lost in the playoff final to Sweden in 2017. Then they lost in the playoff final again in 2022 to North Macedonia. So it doesn't matter that it's Bosnia. This very well could be happening to Italy again, unless they're ready to put everything on the line in 2 days.
Yeah, I hope that game is on TV here in the US. I'll have to kinda dig around and see if I can find it. A good friend of mine, Steve, he's, Italian and not a big soccer fan, more of a baseball guy, but he loves to talk about Italy because his family's from there. His mom and dad moved from there when they were kids, and, he can't even necessarily get into soccer like I want him to because Italy's not doing it. Now, obviously, he's an American citizen, and he's gonna root for the United States, but, like, I mean, he knows enough about Italian soccer to know that this is not normal, and they might kinda lose a whole generation of fans, like, not entirely, but like I said, this is gonna be embarrassing. 3 World Cups in a row? I mean, I was mortified that night when the US lost to Trinidad to not make the World Cup. I can't
Yeah.
imagine having that happen to my country 3 times in a row, especially a soccer country like Italy. Like, I can't relate. So
Yeah.
it's wild.
I mean, it's what, 12 years since Italy have last been in a World Cup. You're talking about a group of fans not seeing it and the decline of the league and the national team. I mean, Italian football is in a very fragile position right now. So that game will be extremely high stakes, Dad. But I want to switch over to another one of the qualifying finals because I think it's the most pertinent to us. We have our boys Kosovo against Türkiye for all the marbles to be in the U.S. men's national team group. We've talked about Kosovo on this podcast as well, Dad,
It's been
and
a few months.
I've severely underestimated them before. They had a huge comeback 4-3 win against Slovakia, showing that grit, showing that fight. Dad, could you see an upset here? Are we gonna get a prediction from you?
No, I don't think I see an upset here. I think, Turkey are too strong a squad. Although, man, what a great story because Kosovo has never been to the World Cup. Bosnia has been to the World Cup before, going back to the Italy-Bosnia game. They've been once before, but Kosovo never have. So, man,
Yeah.
what a great story that would be. And I know there's because of the increased field of 48 teams rather than 32. There's a couple of first timers there.
Which is great.
I mean, and Kosovo, I'm going to bring out a little bit of my political government knowledge here. Oh
Yeah.
my God. Those people have been through hell and back the last few decades. So I would love to see Kosovo win just for that reason alone, but I don't think it happens.
Well, we'll see. I think Romania put up against a good fight against Türkiye the other day. It was only a 1-0 game, very close. Only a 1-0 win for Kosovo as well. So I don't think either team's going to go down easy in this one. But, Türkiye, I think, do have the momentum and the quality to get through Kosovo here. But nonetheless, will be another fantastic matchup for us to keep an eye on this week. And Dad, I think there's one more we maybe wanted to touch on as well, even though they're all great games.
Well, Sweden, Poland. I mean, to me, this is shocking. Just in my mind, both of those countries, with the quality they have, should just be automatic. And I realize many of these countries we're talking about are trying to qualify out of UEFA, which is easy talented. What is it, 55 different countries or something? I mean, I understand this is I don't think the US would even qualify if they were in
It's the
UEFA.
hardest qualifying in the world.
Absolutely. But, Gyökeres had a hat trick not too long ago for
Yeah.
Sweden. And, Lewandowski, I think the funnest, coolest players to watch for the last, 15 years or so. Yeah, this is a big deal. Once again, this is another match. I would love to at least try to catch part of it if I can. Time difference. I got a 9 to 5 job, all that stuff. But we mentioned before the podcast that Isak is still out. I think Sweden with Gyökeres and Isak this summer, amongst others, could be a real dangerous team that nobody wants to play. I think as far as Lewandowski is concerned, he's getting a little long in the tooth, as they say. He's had his chance in previous World Cups, so I'd like to see Sweden win this one. Don't know if they'll pull it off.
I mean, talk about a lethal duo, though, up top. Gyökeres definitely not as good as Isak, but, is starting for the top team in the Premier League right now. And then Isak is, I think the record Premier League signing still in terms of money. Like, you're talking about a very expensive front line there for Sweden that could trouble some teams. And I think you're right, Dad. I think Poland's time has kind of come and gone, at least for this generation. And I think Sweden may be ready to step in. Would be funny to see, too, Graham Potter, former West Ham, Chelsea, and Brighton manager, is now the Swedish manager. So it'd be funny to see him on the touchline in a World Cup with how some of those fan bases view him. I think it would be kind of funny to see.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. So we will know soon enough. I mean, these games are all coming up in the next couple days, right? So we should know soon.
Absolutely, Dad. Absolutely. I'm excited to watch all of them. But, Dad, there were some great games this past week as well, and some great underdogs. And I don't know if you want me to take the lead on this one, or if you got one already ready here.
Why don't you talk about our friends over at Kosovo again?
Yeah, I have to bring them up again. I mean, beating Slovakia 4-3. They were the underdogs. They are the underdogs. No one's looking at them. I mean, that shows some grit to come back, win a high-scoring game to move on and advance. Like, that's something that's very underrated in international football. People talk about how it's much more defensive, but if you have an attacking threat and can really catch teams going forward, that's something that rides momentum and keeps you going. And that's why I'm very intrigued to see this Kosovo team against Türkiye, because they are capable of causing a shock and an upset, and this already was one. So good on Kosovo getting the job done, and let's see if they can get the job fully done and get in for this summer.
All right. My underdog of the week is Bosnia beating Wales 4-2 on penalties, right? I mean, crazy, right? In my mind, I think right away, okay, Wales is going to do this, right? But talk about a group whose time has come and gone, right? Your
Yeah.
Aaron Ramseys and your Gareth Bales, like these guys are not around anymore. And so I'm not shocked by this result, but it certainly is an underdog, absolutely. And I believe Bosnia tied this game up early in the second half, and it went
Yeah.
1-1, and then they went to penalties. And, Edin Džeko scored in the 8th minute, at age 40. That's wild to me, and this is exciting. I mean, I would love to see some of this stuff in the World Cup early on in these group match games where these teams that you think are not going to have a real chance to do much, obviously they're not going to go into onto penalties in the group stage. But I would love to see some of these fireworks from these teams that, ranked 30, 48 or whatever, who wouldn't have made the World Cup 4 years ago. I would love to see some fun Cinderella type moments like this. I hope we do this summer.
I think we're gonna get them with how packed the schedule's been and how many games these guys are playing. Teams are bound to slip up, Dad, and I think we're seeing that right now. It's anyone can beat anyone on any given day. It doesn't matter. Everyone has quality on their team. So to see these matches, you gotta love it. Very UEFA heavy from us there, but they're giving us exciting games. What can we say, right? Anyways,
Ready.
on to the VAR You Serious moment of the week, Dad. And we are kind of dipping our foot back into club football here and talking about the news story, as always, Arsenal. They're always on the media's tongues. And this time, it's for having all of their guys getting pulled out of international duty, seemingly because of injuries. Some true, some not. I mean, Madueke walked out of the England game the other night with a brace on. I don't think that confirms an injury, but I don't think a guy's going to be wearing a brace out of a game just for fun. So,
No.
Dad, a lot of people are talking about this and getting frustrated and upset about it. First, because it's Arsenal. Second, because they're like, whoa, 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 whoa. So they can just pull out of their players out and give them a break. I think, yeah, totally. It doesn't, if the national team's cool with it and they're cool with it, why not, right?
I think it depends on the country, honestly. I mean, my heart says, nah, come on, you need to respect international duty and go for the full camp. But the US, we need guys to be there. And
Yeah.
so, other than clear injury, we need guys there. And we've talked before about how there's been, Pulisic didn't come in for the tournament last summer and that kind of thing. England, for example, guys like Declan Rice and Bukayo Saka, like you yeah, of course it's better to be playing with your national team and getting any additional time together. But I'm sorry, Arsenal's trying to win a Premier League title. They just came off a horrible loss to Man City. Yeah, they're manipulating the system. They sure as hell are. And
Well,
I don't think
and Manchester City has before as well. So let's not act like this is a new thing.
absolutely. And I don't think this is going to cost the England squad anything. The England squad is way too good, and they've had a lot of time together. And I think they've got more room for error, I think I would say, versus a team like the US. So no, I think, Rice and Saka went in for a bit. They went in for the first match. It sounds like they found a compromise of sorts. Listen, I would have been okay with that last summer if Pulisic had done that. And he mentioned he was going to do something like that. I don't know exactly how it all went.
You wanted to come train, which is essentially
Yes,
what Rice and Saka came to do, but then they immediately left. And I think that was a mutual agreement. And Dad, I just want to make a point here. Arsenal have let players who are trying to get into the World Cup still stay out. Gyökeres is still playing for Sweden. Calafiori is still playing for Italy, even though we know how many injury issues he has. So let's not act like Arsenal are fudging all the rules here and screwing over these national teams. They're letting the guys that need to stay. But if they want to play in a friendly, I can see where there's a negotiation where it's like, come on, guys, let them come back. You still have more warm-up games after the season.
absolutely. And I think you make a great point with Gyökeres and Calafiori. Their teams, their nations are doing everything they can to just get in. So yeah, I mean, it's a big risk to let those guys play, but they are playing. So I think that's absolutely a great distinction you're making there that I think a lot of folks on social media, not surprisingly, are not really calling out that difference. They're just finding a way to trash talk. And you know what? By next weekend, it'll all be forgotten anyway. So we'll move forward. I just, I don't know. I'm okay with it this time. because of who they are and what national team they're playing on.
Well, and here's the thing, Dad. One more thing I want to say on it. These national teams also want these guys fresh this summer. They
Yes.
have a vested interest in their fitness. If they are not ready to play nor needed to play right now, why should they play? This was like what I was saying last week. We don't need this many friendlies. These guys need to be fit and ready to go for the summer in the actual tournament. I don't need to see all of England's guys that we have Rice Saka playing against Uruguay in a random friendly match 4 months out from the World Cup. Just not on the docket for me personally. And Dad, I think this is unfortunate from a media perspective that this is the top line story when we're talking about teams like Kosovo, teams like Bosnia, upsetting teams, making things happen. They should be the ones in the headlines, not Arsenal for pulling some guys out because they're too tired or physically not fit to play. I think it's ridiculous.
They're trying to get clicks. They're trying to get eyeballs. I get it,
We're
but
all in that game. I get it. I get it.
yeah.
But it's just, I think it's sad because it's like, let's talk about the good things, right? I think that's something we miss out on news a lot. It's like, why aren't we talking about the good things? We just got to talk about the bad all the time.
I mean, before we wrap it up on this issue, what about should FIFA step in and try to regulate this? I mean, it seems like this is becoming more and more of an issue, or do you just leave it to the club team and leave it to the national team to just figure it out on a case by case basis, regardless of whatever social media, blowback people get?
I think FIFA's got to keep its hands out of this. This is this is why there's federations. This is why there's people on the club side that communicate directly about this. A lot of these coaches, too, know each other very well. I'm sure Arteta is personally calling these guys up and being like, hey, listen, this is where we're at. Our medical team does not think the player is to be going in these games. I think it's a genuine conversation, and FIFA's got bigger stuff to worry about. I mean, we're already worried about stuff on the tournament side over here for this summer at, Foxborough and Gillette, because they're not even paying the security fee right now until they get assurances from FIFA. Like they have their own stuff to worry about. So I'm saying no, but what about you, Dad?
Well, speaking of Foxborough, Gillette Stadium, whatever, I saw a reel this morning, and this guy said the traffic was so bad getting into the stadium that he missed the whole first half. I don't know how that happened. I mean, this is a place that has had sellouts for 20 years because of the Patriots, and they can't figure it out. What is happening?
I
You're
think
right.
I read a lot of people were not using the train that goes directly, I guess, from Boston to the stadium. It's a specific station that takes you directly there. And because there's a video of these French fans walking on the railroad tracks to the stadium. They literally got out of, like, parked their car and walked. And there's a bunch of people walking. And then all these Bostonians were like, in their New England accents, fucking, you fucking idiot. That's the fucking train you're supposed to be on. That's the fucking track for it. Like,
Yeah.
don't you know what trains are? Like, you're from Europe. Like, I mean, it sounds messy, but it's like, I think the infrastructure is there, and Foxborough, I think, is going to be the roughest one, just purely due to it being way outside of the city.
Yeah. We'll see, but I mean, I think this goes back to the point that FIFA's got their hands full right now, and they certainly, at least not this summer anytime soon, they don't need to dip into this whole club versus national team situation. So,
Absolutely.
what are you gonna give it? Are you gonna give this a yellow card, red card, or nothing?
No, this is nothing. And maybe that's my bias showing through here. But like I said, other teams have done this for years. Other teams have done it for years. It's a story because it's Arsenal and the amount of players getting called back. But like we said, the main guys that need to be on international duty this is absolutely no card from me.
I'll go yellow card only in the sense that, like, now it's Arsenal, right? Like, there's more and more teams doing this. And so maybe this is turning into a bigger problem that sort of there should be at least some low level alarms going off that, okay, after this World Cup, let's revisit this whole structure for the next 4-year period. So I'll give it a gentle yellow card here.
Fair enough. Fair enough. We can live with that.
All righty. We're going to move on to parting shots here. You will be answering the odd questions, and I will be answering the even questions. So let's go ahead and begin. Will Mbappe go down as France's greatest ever player?
He's in with a shot. That's for sure. I mean, the fact he's already about to break Giroud's goal scoring record at 27 years old is frightening, to say the least. I mean, people have forgotten about this guy. He's won a World Cup already. He's scored boatloads of goals. I think it's, can he do it by himself to get him into that next level? Can he win Ballon d'Ors? Can he win Champions Leagues? Can he do that to become the best ever player? I still think it's Zidane or Henri. Probably Zidane is their best ever player right now, but he could do it. He could very easily do it. He's in his prime right now and has many years ahead of him. So I would like to see Mbappe do it because he is a talent. He has the level to get there, Dad.
I got to tell you, I just don't really know Mbappe. He's not Messi. He's not Ronaldo. He's not, I don't know. It's weird. Like
He's not
somehow
really the personality that either of them were.
no, and that shouldn't be held against him, but I'm just throwing that out there. Just a little old guy talk. He's not grabbing me the same way some of these other players did in the past. So, all right, what do you got?
Ronaldo was grabbing you. What was going on there?
Grabbing my attention.
Well, he's supposedly done some other grabbing before, but we'll stay away from that. All right, Dad. Is Senegal right to appeal AFCON drama to CAS or dragging it out unnecessarily?
Hey, listen, if the appeals process is there, they have the right to appeal it. Absolutely. They're not going to win that appeal. They should not win that appeal. I think it's fantastic that that trophy was taken away from them for what they did. But sure, go ahead, appeal it. You know, the legal process allows for it, but yeah, they're not going to win.
I mean, it's just such a mess, and it's funny how they paraded after their game as they had still won the trophy. They did
Yeah.
that after their friendly, and it's like, guys, come on. Like, I mean, yeah, fair enough, it's there, right? So we'll see. But anyways, next question.
All right. Another sacking, or they agreed to part ways. Where do Spurs go after parting ways with Tudor?
2 words, Neil Warnock. I want to see the old man come back into management for whatever it is, 6 games to end the season and keep Spurs up. I mean, talk about a guy that knows the club, that has the respect of players, you know, in England. People know him in England. He can maybe get the job done. Let's not mess around here, Spurs, and go pick up another random guy that has never been in English football before. You need someone who knows the league and can get the players going for 6 games. Then they're done. Neil Warnock doesn't want to coach after, 6 more games, I bet. Get a Sean Dyche, get Neil Warnock in, get the job done. That has to be what it is, Dad.
I was going to say, Sean Dyche, but that's just me.
Yeah.
All
I've just
right.
heard that name thrown around. That's all I'm saying, because of his connections with the club, which
Yeah.
I can understand. I think that's a great idea, a great hire, but we shall see what they end up doing. But
Crazy
go ahead.
question, real quick. Does Pochettino bail on the U.S. team this week to take that Spurs job right now?
No chance. The US would never let that happen. Spurs would have to pay $50 million or double his contract to get him out of it. There's no chance he walks from the job. And if he did, he'd be a coward. He'd be a coward because he took on something that he couldn't do, at the end of the day. So let's hope not. But what do you think, Dad?
After yesterday's result, I think it's unlikely, but I would not be completely shocked. Only slightly shocked. Anyway, sorry.
I'd be
Tangent there. What's my next question?
Another big hitter for you here, Dad. Will Manchester City actually face their 60-point rumored deduction?
Absolutely not. I think this is just more curiosity, smack talk, whatever. The Premier League does not have the sack for it. There's no way. No. And we've talked about this recently with what they did to Chelsea, which was kind of a slap on the wrist. This is people talk about these 60-point deductions and them being relegated. They're living in a fantasy world. There's no way they do it.
Well, especially if the Premier League is potentially going to lose Spurs, which is a economic juggernaut for them as well. They
Yeah.
don't want to lose another one. They sure as shit do not want to lose another one. So we'll see what ends up happening there. But next question.
Is Barcelona's season in jeopardy after losing Rafinha?
I think it definitely is. The stats are staggering, Dad, for when they have him and when they don't. I think their win percentage is 84, 85% with him and 54% without him. Like, they are a different team without that guy. And he's not having the season he did last year with 60 goal contributions, but clearly he's instrumental in that attacking force in the way they play. So I think Barcelona's season could be over if Rafinha is done for the rest of the year.
You don't think some of those guys can pick up the slack around him? I mean, I realize it weakens their chances, but you don't think they can pick up the slack?
I don't see it. I mean, they're already dealing with so many injuries, Dad. And Yamal, people forget he's such a talented player, but he's still 18 years old. I mean, this is like what was happening with Saka. You can't always put the pressure on a teenager or a very young player every single game because we're seeing the effects of it right now on Saka, like we've talked about, Dad. Lewandowski is pretty old. I mean, they have players. Like, don't get me wrong, they have players, and they're still going to win games. I just don't
Yeah.
see them getting across the line without Rafinha.
All right. And what is the final question for me?
Well, we got some outrageous media interview going on here that I had to bring to your attention, Dad. But is Harry Kane worth 250 million euros as suggested by Bayern leadership?
Now, were the leaders at Bayern Munich, were they drinking when they had this discussion or were they sober? They
Probably
realize,
drinking. They're German. They're
yeah,
German. I mean, they're probably having beers.
they realize Harry Kane is 32 years old. And yes, he is still a hell of a player, but he's about to hit that time in life where he will start to crash out sooner than they want to believe. Well, 250 million euros, how about half of that? Half of
Yeah.
that. I can go 125.
He used the Isak deal as his measuring stick. He said if Isak's worth 140 million, then Kane's worth 250 million,
And
which he's probably not wrong this year. But
how
Isak's
old
a
is
lot young.
Isak? How old
I
is
think
he?
24, 25.
End of discussion. Right? And
Yeah, Isak.
Isak wasn't worth that much either. That just because Liverpool were willing to overpay doesn't mean some other club should be dumb enough to overpay for Kane and starting to creep towards his mid-30s. Like, come on. Enough. Bayern's I think it's a negotiating tactic, and I think they're just basically BSing people.
I wouldn't be surprised. They're pretty used to BSing, and I think they're upset they're losing their German talents to English teams like Wirtz. You know, they want to throw it right back at the English sides. You know, oh well, we have your English guy, so he's worth this much money if you want him back.
Probably.
But
Alrighty, buddy.
what a day, what an episode we had here, guys. We covered a ridiculous amount of stuff, but thank you guys so much for tuning in as always. Dad, what should they go do right now?
Subscribe, comment, like, word of mouth, all the things. Do it, please. Help us out. We appreciate it.
If people like this ridiculous banter we got going on here that we talk about, please send them our way. But would love to hear from you guys as always. And yeah, I think we're going to move on to next week and hopefully a big week in the Premier League and European football ahead. But everyone, we hope you have a great time this week and we will talk to you all soon. Have a good one. Bye-bye.